So you guys know that AJ is withdrawn. That's and so I just wanted to add that to. Hi, Stephanie. I just wanted to add that to the minutes and officially get that in the record to thank AJ, and certainly we'll hope to ask him questions now and then as we continue. I also wanted to add into the record that Josh, you've been appointed Vice President, and Stephanie as FPVFC Marketing Program Manager, and Dan, I came up with, Dan, we can change this, but FPVFC Technical and NAS Program Manager. And Zoe and I had a chance to chat, and she's excited that she anticipates that she will be able to spend more time with us, and that's great. And we talked about how it's really useful to us, certainly to me, to have her be able to bridge the gap from the workings of FPVFC to pilots around the FPV community. So we're trying to come up with an appropriate description and title for her position. So we don't have one right now. All of the positions above had been discussed and endorsed by Chad Capper, and of course by me as well.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Of course.
I figured out how to get a phone number out of Google Suite, so that's all. We're Google Suite. We're all set for the Board of Directors meeting. I want to send out the reading material and the presentation. I'd like to do that tomorrow, if possible. Tomorrow or Friday. So it's just so I get approximately a week in front of the meeting date. I will send a couple of reminders to the board, asking them to please scan through the slides before we get together. I also have to get to the attorney, have the attorney sign off several documents that they need to sign off as the incorporator, a new word for me. I've also identified an accountant for our corporation. Full disclosure, one of the managing partners in this accounting firm is a colleague and friend of mine. He's also on the same bank board that I am, and I endorsed him to come on to the bank board. So I trust him completely. Very capable, and a larger CPA firm that he's a part of. I think they have 60 accountants working for the firm in the Albany area, Albany, capital of New York. So it's a bigger firm. And this is, and I asked him if his firm worked on nonprofits, and he said it was his personal specialty. So he's also one of the. He's on a committee that works in New York State for audit for banks, meaning that he provides the questions to New York State audit for banking. So he's also worked for large companies and small. So
awesome. Sounds like a good fit.
Yeah, I think so. Very capable, and it's a position that I'm a little jumpy about. I don't want to make any missteps on accounting practices because we could lose our 501c3 status. You have to be pretty flagrant, but I don't want to.
Still, just the same, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get even close.
So now your next step is to get him to fly.
Yeah, that you're right. I'm sure he'd be up to putting on some goggles.
There you go.
So he would be able to tell his kids how cool he is. So that would be enough of. He's 44 44, 45 now. So
he's in the perfect age range.
Exactly. Kids are, let's see, his boy is off in college. His daughter is senior in high school, heading to college. So he's going to have free time. Not really. He works around the clock, but he can do it. I've also added a request in reading. What does it take to be a nonprofit? That we should ask for a board approval and vote for us to start a bank account, and so I will take care of that. This led to the next topic, which was my desire, and I would like a practice in general that I don't want to approve expenditures unless we have the money to cover the expenditure. And so certainly we had to operate with an exception to that practice with a legal fee, and per the presentation, I've highlighted that we have about $6,000 in legal fees that are due. So and I've communicated to the firm that I'd like an extension to that, and my objective is to hopefully when we're able to gain membership, donations, merchandise, and sell merchandise, that we'll be able to first cover that $6,000 and then see where we are on an ongoing basis. Obviously, a bit of a conservative practice, that have the money in hand before committing a expenditure.
That's the way it needs to be, though. So, and the lawyer fee is, from what I was looking at on the slides, needs to be the first bill we pay. So.
Yes.
Sorry about my dogs here.
It's okay. It's a great sound. It's almost, but not quite as good as hearing a baby in the background, which I've heard for years. Which I mean sincerely. It's great. I mean, people have lives, so it's great to know that we're not just doing stuff that is taking us away from family. Okay. Questions on either of those two topics? I brushed through the first couple. Any comments, thoughts?
Nope, that all sounds good.
Okay. All right. Tee the next one up for you, Josh. 2/13, 9 p.m. Does that sound like a go?
Yep.
Okay. And I set the following evening to move this business meeting to the 14th, and got sent out an invitation with call-in numbers to that meeting. And then I just copied in the topics. I commit to being there in support, and I promise I won't say rude things in the background or open up a mic and have loud noises to make the call more challenging. But I look forward to it.
Feel free to razz away.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully we'll keep it light. Stephanie had in a side note, but it was I thought a really good thought, in that it probably will take a fair amount of our time to be the truth police, to be to dispel either myth or urban myth, or what's required and what's not required from a certification, from a where can I fly. And that strikes me as a potential topic. Certainly, maybe not right away, since things are still in a bit of flux. And of course, right now, we are still under the prior authorization and regulations until the FAA puts the 349 in place as a set of regulations. Right now, of course, that's just part of the 2018 FAA authorization legislation. So that now has to be interpreted into regulations. So when asked, we have to go back to 336 and that set of legislation. I think that's 2012 authorization. Okay. Anything else on next Wednesday, Josh?
No, I think we just need to keep generating ideas for these community town halls, and I think that Stephanie came up with that on some of her artwork, and I kind of like that, like little town hall meetings, and just keep pushing ideas out, and we can create content based around that.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, great. How are we going to publicize the fact that we would like folks to show up?
I created an invite. It's not really an invite, but it's more like an infographic that we can use in social media. Facebook, obviously, and then Twitter. If we decide to go ahead and do the soft launch now, Josh, you and I need to kind of combo about that a little bit.
Yeah. One of the big things is we were looking at, and this is more down the line, but we're looking at it's a program. It's an app basically called Buffer, and it allows you to schedule your posts in advance, so you can kind of tee up a bunch of posts, and it'll automatically post to the various different social media sites.
I love it.
But the one thing we kind of need to wait on is when we finally get our 501c3, because it has the cost of it, and it'll only be $7.50 a month, $7.50 a month for the package that we would need. So it's relatively cheap, and we can tee up to I think up to 100 posts per social media channel, and schedule them, and it'll automatically post them out. So it's a great resource to use. I've actually explored it before, and Stephanie and I were kind of talking about it today. So that'd be a good way to, sit down for a couple hours, key up a bunch of posts for the future, and just blast them out. It'll blast it out automatically. So
fantastic. That's clever.
Now,
so for next week we do it manually, but
yeah, and manually is not that difficult, but
yep.
We could schedule them to just pop out, whenever we want them to, a couple days before the meeting, and then as reminders as well, so that it's generating that traffic. So,
okay.
And then
what Facebook groups are you looking to put this out on?
So initially, the big thing I want to do is pop it out just to the FPV, and then we can share it from there, so it all ties back into our Facebook group.
Perfect.
So, I mean, the biggest ones that I would imagine would be obviously the Rotor Riot is going to hit the most amount of people all at once, but I'm going to share it out to the local groups as well.
Great.
At least here in Arizona, if everybody can kind of tee up a couple of local groups from your area, that would be fantastic. And then get it to as many of the different FPV Facebook groups as well. So.
Okay. All right. All right. Excellent. Look forward to it.
Alrighty.
Anything else on that topic?
Yeah, another thing kind of on that topic is, again, Stephanie and I were kind of talking this afternoon about kind of revamping the FPV Freedom Coalition Discord server. It kind of, we've kind of petered out a little bit on it, and I want to kind of revamp it and get it going again and turn it into, have rooms for, instead of business organization, we can kind of flip it and go into like general discussion and kind of turn it into our live kind of forum.
Great.
But I need admin access to do that. Because with my leadership tag, I can't do anything. And then Stephanie's also going to need to be put as an admin on it as well.
Okay.
And we can kind of revamp that a little bit, change channels and whatnot.
Who has admin right now? Sean?
No. I believe Chad does. But my leadership, if he can just change my leadership tag to give me that ability, and then grant Stephanie that same ability, I think we'll be in a better spot.
Got it. I'll ask him to do that. Taking a note.
It prevents us from having to create an entirely new server.
Yep.
That way we can use, what we already have, and everybody that's already a member, we can just kind of tweak it a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes complete sense. Okay. I got that. Good. The ANPRM I have not touched since last week. I need to read it more carefully, and then maybe we can have. I don't know if anyone else has had an opportunity to read through it and has a view on what we should be responding to. I believe it still has not. The 60-day clock has not started yet. Another benefit of the partial shutdown, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's still in draft form. So, to be honest, I think there's some good things and there's some bad things.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that we do need to respond to that to a certain extent. But the problem is they're going to rely on remote ID for most of the stuff, and I'd like to. I haven't seen a whole lot on where anybody's at with that.
Yeah, other than, let's see, that was February 4 was the response. So the request for information for remote identification had responses back to the FAA due February 4. I don't know what the process is for the RFIs to see the light of day. It would not surprise me at all if only the bids that are selected are made visible. I mean that would be sensible, and it would protect the confidentiality of those who were not awarded, to give them the ability to not share what could be proprietary information with their competition. So yeah, that's we'll watch the space, I guess, with the FAA. I have found a excuse me a sec. I have found an FAA link that allows me to. It doesn't just it tags you on an email for any FAA news. We'll say, I was going to say propaganda, but it's any news. It does appear to have multiple blasts a day, but I'm hopeful that we'll see at least through that communication what's going on in the RI remote identification.
Sounds good. Can you send me that link?
I can.
If you have it.
Yeah,
I can sign up for that.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Done. And so I agree. More work to do. I agree that we should respond, and just homework to go through that. I encourage everyone else to read it. Sounds like Josh, you've already have. I've read it once. I need to go back and go through it with a finer tooth comb.
Stephanie, did you see anything in there that maybe we missed when you were reading it?
I made it to page 52 and started pulling my hair out, so I got a summary. I mean, I'm just completely honest.
Oh wait,
Okay.
the ANPRM is the shorter one, right? It's not the NRPM is the night and sky one. That's the one that's 209 pages.
Right.
Okay, then
That one I got.
That
That one I got through. So the ANPRM on safe and secure operations happily is a good deal shorter.
Okay, cool. If you could put in the in our private chat, that would be great.
Oh, you're looking for a link for it?
Yeah, I don't have it.
Okay.
The only one that I have is the long one.
Okay. All right. Will do.
Thank you.
Communications. This is the Josh and Stephanie show.
Well, we kind of talked about, some of the channels and whatnot for the social media. So the biggest part is going to be as we start posting things, getting into the analytics and finding out, what time of day people are reading. There are certain times of the day where people view social media more. So we need to see when our community is reading those posts, and we can kind of tailor the auto poster
So the idea is you want to launch so that we're not in the middle of a feed coming up near the top of a feed. Is that what you're thinking?
No, not necessarily. You want to launch when people are actually viewing stuff. So if there are certain times of the day where people are on Facebook or on Twitter or that kind of thing, and those times vary, but you want to put a post up just before people get on so that you are at the top of their feed,
Okay.
or as close to it as you can possibly be.
All right. Does the app buffer have must have a time zone setting?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
From what I've experienced, it does.
Okay.
And it's got good feedback to it. So, and I've just messed around with it on a personal level. But they're really, really good company. So,
cool.
Beyond that, I think that once we start having these community meetings, I think word will start getting out, and we can take it, a little further and kind of build up our community again. And then, I kind of rely on Stephanie for her external contacts to people with shows and whatnot. And I know once we launch, she's gonna be ready to, spout that out all over their shows and whatnot. And I don't know, Stephanie, do you want me to put together like a I don't know, like a brief or an announcement for you to give to those folks, or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. If there's anything else you need me to do, just holler at me and I can get that stuff put together. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, a request when we do the town hall. Is that what you're calling them? It's be every Wednesday. If you could you take very brief notes so that when Josh is talking, we're not asking him to also take notes.
Sure.
And the thought being that then at the business meeting, let's bring it up and in terms of, okay, these were some of the salient points or feedback points that came up. Is there an action that we should take that comes out of the comments that came up on the town hall, be it into the communication plan, or this is something we should look at in terms of following up on regulations, or interesting safety guideline point, etc.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. I'm good. That's all I had for this evening. Anyone else? Anything else?
That makes for a pretty short meeting.
I know this was, I sat down, I created, the agenda. I was like, okay, and I have been hustling on the presentation for the board. So I'm like, okay, I'm still very, very excited, very enthused about this whole thing.
Oh, I do have something. Does anybody have any? I never got any feedback from anybody on the presentation. Besides you, Dave, I did get your feedback. Dan or Stephanie, any additions, subtractions, anything we missed?
I did get
I
a
haven't
chance
noticed.
to
I
read
can
it.
go back over it again with a finer tooth comb.
Okay.
All right.
So
If you guys could.
Yeah, I want to book it, publish on this Friday. So.
Yeah, I took a look at it last weekend, and I didn't see anything that needed to be changed at all.
Okay. Okay. We've been tweaking it a bit. a little bit, and thank you for not editing on the presentation at this point. At this point, if Josh and I have, if there are things that are missing or need to be edited, please bring it to our attention. This is configuration control, so that as we're presenting it, there are no surprises. Like, where did that bullet come from? I don't know if any of you have had that experience where it's amazing how when you're presenting to an important group, your senses are heightened, and you notice, the tiniest typos or a nuance in a bullet or a grammatical error. That's when you see it, because your system is just really on high alert.
Yeah, that's happened to me a
Yeah.
lot. It's like, why is there no period there?
Oh heck, look at that.
And it sucks because you always like end awkward pause while I contemplate this comma.
Yeah. Do I say anything, or maybe no one else saw it? Yeah. All right. So yeah, Stephanie, any comments? Over the next day, please let us know. If not, I think we're good.
Absolutely.
What else? It occurred to me about the population of the FAA when I was thinking about where are we with the organization of the FAA, and how much how large is the sphere of influence with different people. I was thinking that a really important data point for us is, what's the total population of FAA people in total, and then those who have some relationship with UAS. If we can figure that out, that will be helpful from a perspective of, okay, this means we have to touch this number of people. And I have just a swag from the number of different names that we've seen. I bet it's under 50. That's my swag right now. So we'll see if I'm way off as we learn more.
In terms of the number of people who work for the FAA that are involved
Yes.
with UAS?
Yes.
Gotcha.
FAA employees who are involved in UAS.
Gotcha.
And this I was thinking about from the circle of trust, in terms of who are the people that we need to influence and contact and communicate with. And if we know, if it were 1,000 people, it becomes daunting. But I have a hunch it's 2 orders of magnitude smaller than that, so it's probably achievable. Now, granted, they leverage themselves. They're looking like the RID RFI is a great example. They're looking for to establish regulations at no cost in terms of management or implementation to the RID, yet the FAA will dictate the regulations. So it feels like, wow, I've done things like this where you have so few people, and so you have to pull a rabbit out of a hat in terms of how do you get the job done with no people. And it's that type of and delegation's not the right word, but it is sharing the authority, because you really are turning the pen over to a third party to institute the execution of the regulation.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it seems like they're relying on outside contractors to come up with the solutions and kind of drive it. And
Exactly my point. Exactly.
it's kind of scary.
No, it's very scary. And so the only upside for us is, gosh, that probably means that there are not that many FAA employees working on UAS. I mean, my gosh, they have so many other things they're worried about.
Well, the other fringe benefit to that is that they're going to be constantly on the outlook of subject matter experts for various different things. And
Here.
so And from my research within the FAA different divisions, there's about 3 or 4 different divisions that assist with UAS, but I'm sure there's only a couple of people in each of those divisions that are exclusive to that.
Right. Yeah, and I may just start to ask and send a note to the fellow that we're working with in Washington D.C., who is the contact for the Drone Advisory Committee. So as I mentioned, we submitted Chad Capper's name, but this fellow has been extremely responsive. So and he's a part of the UAS FAA team. So hope maybe he'll be open or receptive to talking to us and sharing with us. And I know the first question is going to be, well, who are you guys? Well, as they would say in Texas, we're fixing to be a CBO.
Right. Have you guys heard anything back on the DAC appointments, or?
Yes, that that our documentation was received. Thank you very much. And they will a decision will be made in April. So
Excellent.
Yeah, what was it, January? I think it was January 10 or somewhere around there that the application had to be in, and they gave themselves to April to turn it around. So we'll see what happens there.
Man,
And
I need to operate on government time. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it seems like such a
boy, I
long
tell you,
time.
We
it's
never
just
get anything done.
it's just amazing. Yeah, it's just I'm accustomed to having a boss say, "Wow, this looks really difficult, Dave. Uh, could you have this back by 4 this afternoon?" It's 1. Yeah. So I that's why I was thinking I'll give you some extra time. That's that's honestly the turnaround that I'm accustomed to. So
Yep.
yeah, this is yeah, it's it's and again, use that to our advantage. As we'll try to understand the cadence, understand the number of people, understand the procedures. My other thought is um, uh, the AMA has um, a representative on the DAC, and so um, if we are not appointed as a group, my thought is to see who might be approachable. Not sure the AMA is, but we'll make a pass there. A bunch of us are AMA members, so we'll take that approach. Richard something or other, he was the president of the AMA, so I know he and the new executive director just changed positions. So we'll see. It was not Chad Boudreau. Chad Boudreau is the new executive director of the AMA. So we may reach out to them. And if not, we'll reach out to the 2 individuals who are involved in representing operators. One working for, was it? It was a newscasting organization, and the other for I think it was CSX. It was a railway company.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense.
They use them to inspect their rails, and they use them to, from what I heard, to watch their employees at the train yards. I'm dead serious.
Wow.
I am dead serious.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Big Brother. Yeah. Better than counting keystrokes. All right. Yeah. Obviously, I want to get involved and engaged. I'm looking forward to that 501c3 approval, so we can get going.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Anything else around the room?
Stephanie's got some awesome artwork.
Ooh.
Yeah, I posted it in our side channel.
Oh, okay. Let me take a look.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out, Stephanie.
No.
I can't get on my computer right now and load it that way because I can't be online because of our thunderstorm that we're having. It's
Are
wonderful.
is this logo a little, it looks a little nuanced from previous versions. Is that accurate, or it looks like it's got some shading, the text looks looks a little fancier, it has a border, the
It's just
logo
some of the
is
things that I'm
tweaked.
toying with, just for some ideas.
Okay. All right. I love it. Great stuff. Yeah, there. Yeah, on the big logo from earlier this afternoon, I like it looked like there was a texture you were using that it looked like it almost had a nice little, almost a sparkle to it,
Yeah,
like
I'm trying to make it where it's not quite as flat and generic, and
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
It looked like a pearl type of that you do on a car or a bike.
Mhm.
Cool. Pretty. It's pretty. I like it.
Well, thank you.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. So last call on the charts tomorrow, and we'll send them. I will send them off to our board members Friday, and our board meeting is the 15th, 9 a.m. Eastern.
Woot woot.
Yes. All right. Thank you all.
Have a good night, bud.
Have a good
Very
evening.
good.
Good night,
Take
everyone.
care.
Good night.